This afternoon we're going to be completing our third history lesson where we're going to be answering the question, how did war affect the lives of families? Today we're going to be looking at land girls, who they were and what they did. During the Second World War, women were called on to help with the war effort. Before the war, Britain imported a lot of its food, and because of the war, Britain now had to grow more of its own food. The problem was that lots of the male farmers were fighting in the war, so it was decided that women would be asked to help out. They were called land girls, and they did a wide variety of jobs on the land. They worked in all weathers and conditions and could be asked to work anywhere in the country. Now you may be thinking, but what were some of the things they were asked to do? Land girls had to do a variety of jobs, for example dairy work, where women worked on cattle farms. There were also jobs in rat catching, which you can see pictured above. And these pests were thought to be threatening food supply, so they had to be caught. Sounds like a rather nasty job if you ask me. Another job that land girls could do was reclaiming more land so that more food could be grown. Because so much food had to be produced, they had to keep on converting land and changing it into farmland. A final job that these women could do was timber work, and there was a special group called the Timber Corps. Their job was to cut down trees to use for things such as telegraph poles. What was it like to be a land girl during World War II? Women were recruited from cities and towns with the promise that this work would give them a healthy lifestyle. The truth was, it was very hard work. Land girls often lived in hostels, like this one here. This was a very basic and often lonely way to live. There were strict rules about the uniform that they had to wear. Women had to still look presentable whilst they worked. Now I mentioned earlier that the work was really hard. However, women were paid less than men for the same work. Men got paid 38 shillings per week, whereas women received only 28 shillings per week. Seems a bit unfair. Now I don't know about you, but I love hearing people's own stories of things that happened in the past. You're going to need to pause this video here to watch an eyewitness account from Mona. She was a lady who worked as part of the Women's Land Army as a land girl. Pause the video here and find the BBC clip on Microsoft Teams. Mona truly was an incredible person, wasn't she? In today's lesson, you'll be writing a letter to recruit a land girl, kind of like Mona. You are a farmer who wants to recruit a young woman to work on the farm. Your letter needs to give reasons for why you need a land girl. For example, the men are away. We need to increase food production. You need to emphasise the war effort. Your letter also needs to include details of the duties, living conditions and wages of land girls. Remember though that you want this person to work for you, so you would not want them to know that they'd be earning less than men. You also need to be realistic, but emphasise the good things. For example, you might want to talk about how they'd be getting lots of fresh air, there'd be friendship and there'd be good food. Now remember, you are writing to someone you know, so this letter needs to be personal. Sign the letter with your own name and put it in an envelope, if you have one. Once you've done this, you're going to need to take a photo of your letter to send to your teacher. If you want a creative challenge, you might want to tea stain the paper to make it look old. On this slide, there's an example of how you might want to start your letter. You're going to need to write it out in rough first and then write it out in neat. You can choose to either use line paper or plain. You might want to use this example to help you, but you need to make sure that you continue writing. You can't just write one paragraph. Pause the video here so that you can keep the example paragraph on your screen. Once you've done that, let's start writing. Don't forget to include all those things on the previous slide. Enjoy writing!